the Get With The Programming. I'm chasing him.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
What was that? Did you scream?
Hold on.
What's happening?
Sorry. Okay. I don't know if you could hear that or not. I actually had the other, so I could type in the other chat.
Oh, you had
in our chat, but the volume was going on, so it was like, oh, they got double music happening. Hi there. Hi there. I'm back.
Well, you panicked as if like you had some type of like OnlyFans page playing on accident.
Well, it's our OnlyFans page, right?
It's going to be. That's
right.
This
is where we have our OnlyFans.
Yes, this is our OnlyFans.
These are our OnlyFans.
Speaking of OnlyFans, this is not necessarily a hard left, but it falls in line, right? If you talk about subscriptions. You guys going to be a Programmatron, a patron of the show. You guys can go to patreon.com/getwiththeprogramming. Starting January, we're getting our shit together. I realize and will fully admit that I have dropped the ball on supporting our patrons. And those of you guys that are still sticking around and rolling with us, thank you so much.
You guys are awesome.
$6 a month. $6 a month. It's a tip in the tip jar for the show. It does wonders for our ability to do things like our last episode. All right, the last episode we did, by the way, 4,000 views. Thank you guys so much for watching and sharing. I've gotten a lot of interested feedback on that, which was to be expected for some, and others is very positive. If you saw Dave Cash's Week in Review, he just mentioned whoever commented on that. By the way, thank you.
Way to put it up in the front there,
Tyler or something. I don't know, but thank you for that, and for all the guests that came on that supported the show last Friday. Super cool, Savan, to bow out of a Friday night show, which, I mean, you're on a lot.
Yeah.
And give us the window. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know we did. That was a blast.
Well, it was a blast, dude. It was a blast. Okay, first of all, you did a great job on the idea. Was amazing. And the way it was set up, again, like I think everyone, when they first hopped on, was expecting it to be our normal sort of setup without really understanding the design of it. It was a here's 6 weeks worth of shows in one show to show you how it could be show you how it could run. And I think once people got that, if they sat back for a second and they saw that, then they were like, oh, okay, now there's information we've talked about. And you're right, it has been great with like all of our people in our space, you know, with Pedro and with Sevon and with Hiller and with everyone that's been bringing it up and talking about it, because it's a valid conversation. It's something that needs to happen. It's an easy way to get a lot more engagement. It's an easy way to make things more important. It's an easy way to ramp up the whole season, which I think is great.
Yeah, it wasn't like a pie in the sky daydream scenario of change. Let's change everything. It was like change nothing.
Right. Nothing.
Just make it count.
Let's just talk about it now.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Make it count. And some of the Space Wolves. Wex isn't here, but Corey is picking up the slack.
I like it.
Some of the reality of it, and this is a good one that came up, and I was like, yeah, you're right. That's a thing to figure out, is how to police the open and quarterfinals appropriately to dedicate the power of the top 100 and how important that is. And it's a totally valid concern. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to manage people's performances.
Well, and I think that
with 150,000 men and women separately doing it in the quarterfinals a little bit more, but you invited 25%, not me.
Right.
But I get it. The thing we're complaining about is we have to work harder.
Well, I still think
it's a lot.
Even with that, though, dude, I think that, and I have been saying this for so long, I'm glad that Hiller's kind of picked it up again, is there is zero reason why you shouldn't be able to put a YouTube link on every single submission video. Like on the leaderboard, you have your score and the link. You have the little icon for the link. You can click it. It goes to the YouTube. There is everybody YouTubes everything. So there's no reason that you're going to be running out of bandwidth. And that was what the original comment was to me way back when was, it's just too much bandwidth. Like, no, you're not keeping it on your server. You put it on the YouTube server, man. The most mega cloud there is. Like
legitimate bandwidth.
Yeah. Like, come on, man. Small team. But I think that, you do that and then you allow everyone to see, and it puts it all out there, and that definitely cuts down the work that needs to be done. So I think I think it could be done. Is it going to be perfect? No. Are there going to be pitfalls? Yeah, totally. But it's not like there aren't those now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was great. So thank you guys for doing that. Shout out to It's Christmas Time. Element 26. Go to element26.co, not .com. It's a different place. Don't go there.
Don't go there.
Don't go there. Element26.co. The opens around the corner. Ergo, you got to gear up. All right. If you haven't been putting in the work, the next best thing is to just gear up. And so, hand grips, weight belts, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, rip repair, sweatbands, thumb tape, just gear it up. Okay. Maybe don't gear up too far, but use straps. Maybe you can get away with it. Apparently we just can get away with murder in the open, right? Which we kind of can. Right? I need to hit up Phil about this roll-on stuff. Bro, my knees, bro. I don't know if it's because I just turned the tide on 40, 41, but it has been weird. But it's just in the beginning.
Right.
It's just in the beginning.
That you will always feel whatever was sore or is sore, like you'll always feel it. Always. Yeah. But 3, 2, 1, go, you'll be okay.
All right. Yeah. That's usually what happens. Is like after the first 10 to 15 squats, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
This isn't permanent. But if you guys are like me and you got janky knees coming into the open, go to element26.co, use the code GWT15 for 15% off your next PR. Now, keep in mind, we will be talking about Dubai's programming today. It just happened last weekend. It was what year is this now? 2023. When was the first time you went out there?
Oh, man. 17? 17?
Is it 17? And they had it a couple years before that.
They had it 2 years before that, yeah. I remember hearing about the first year they did it. Kenny Leverage went, Ryan Fisher went, Lindsay Valenzuela went.
You look at those old rosters.
Dude. I mean, it was an invite back then. It was like hey, let's just showcase. And then it really blew up. Man, the thing about that event is it's just become such a spectacle.
Yeah.
And I think that is their thing. That is their, we talk about what's your why. They've always been able to do just some things that you would never as an athlete, or as a broadcaster, when we've gone over there, the things that you are able to do,
right,
you cannot do anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, you got to ride
a camel.
Burj Khalifa.
Dude, Burj Khalifa, you're in the Arabian desert, you're in, ski slopes, you're in, military obstacle course.
Ski slopes in the desert.
Right. I mean, the craziest stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like, obviously the money's a cool draw, but it's just such a man, they make it such a fun setup. It's a fun opportunity. It's a fun opportunity for the athletes for sure.
Mm-hmm. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to rival the extravagance and show of what the CrossFit Games were.
Yeah.
We wanted to create our own.
You remember when Saud was like, "Why can't we have it here?" I'm like, "Dude, it's summertime."
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
5 degrees. I mean, I get you guys can make it rain and drop the temperature for a couple days, but true story.
They have their own weather satellites over there.
Yeah, they have their own weather system. They're just like, hey, it's going to rain today at 10 o'clock. You're like, what? What kind of text message is this?
Well, maybe when they build, what's that called? The line? When they finish building the line, the largest structure ever, the long community. It's supposed to be like however many kilometers long.
Yeah.
They'll have a CrossFit Games site in there or something. Who knows?
True. Corey, speaking of YouTube, I watched Chase do Amanda at the Games on YouTube a few weeks ago. Yeah, he sent it to me. He's like, hey, look at you. And I was like, wow. I didn't know they had YouTube back then.
Right.
But, apparently dead. Well, before we get into the programming, we want to get into what I am wearing, what Bill and I helped create, foster, and continue to do, and that is the OG culture. Ken of Sherpa Works has loaded up the website, and as you can see, we got all the gear that we had at events. We've got a new Cult Within the Culture patch. The socks are on board. I wore mine yesterday, and they have black and white, and they are fantastic.
Amazing. Look at
They're
this.
so soft.
So amazing.
I wore them around the house the rest of the day. And I worked out at 5 o'clock in the morning. And judge me for how you will, because I didn't take them off for the whole day. But
It must have been cold or something. He didn't sweat.
yeah, it was great. But like, you have show up at the bottom of the socks, you have just at the top, black and white. They're $6 off right now, and that's on top of, if you guys are a patron of the show, if you are Programatron, as we affectionately call you guys, you still get 20% off your exclusive discount that we won't say. We won't say here, because otherwise it's not exclusive anymore.
That's right. That's right.
But it's all in there. Just show up tie-dyes, OG. We've got the headbands. We've got the OG patch. Pukey sweatbands are sold out. We got to get those. Back in stock.
Dude, I wear those
And this
all the
one,
time.
The Unbroken Tee is just freaking on fire. $10 off. So if you guys are looking for something for your favorite CrossFitter, this is where you go.
There it is.
This is where you go. I was in the elevator today, actually, and this guy goes, "So is that a brand now? Is OG a brand?" I'm like, "I know you have no idea what this is or about, but the answer is yes."
Right.
The answer is yes. So, yeah, if you guys need that, go over there, theogculture.com, get your gear, use your discount if you are a patron of the show, and party. But speaking of party, talking about Dubai, before we get into the programming, you talked about the purpose of Dubai. Spectacle. Extravagance. Offering things that no one else can get unless they come there to compete. And as Allegra said earlier, at the time, outside the CrossFit Games, no one could get cash like that. Whether it was for an event win, first, second, or third, or overall, nobody could touch that for years. People are getting close. Waza's getting close. Obviously, there's Rogue is Rogue. The games are the games. But this is the third best.
Man, dude, it's up there.
That they have $50,000 if you win, 50 each.
Yeah,
between men and women, that's insane.
That's insane, and sometimes it's crazy because it depends on the year. There'll be some times where they're like, "We want everyone to go faster. If you win this one, $20,000 on top."
Right?
And you're like, "What? Man. Seriously?"
And okay. I had this conversation with JR because he's like, "Hey, is Dubai like? Do they just want flash and lights?" And I was like, yes,
100%.
And it's not just the competition. Like, that's the culture.
Yeah.
Look at Dubai. Look at the city. The buildings, the lights, the extravagance, the world record breaking for just because we can and we want to hold the top spot. Like, we went to the Burj Khalifa where they showed, hey, there's another Arabic country that is building something tall in the Burj Khalifa that'll be done in a couple of years. We're already building something taller than that.
Yeah.
So before it's even done, they're already building something taller, and they already have the tallest one. Like, that's the shit they do.
Yeah.
And you look at all these buildings, and they continue.
It is the craziest skyline, dude. It is something straight out of Star Wars.
It is. The best description I have for that is if you guys have ever seen Blade Runner.
Oh, dude, totally. Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a futuristic downtown city, and the only thing missing is flying cars because now they have hologram things.
Yep.
The frame.
The frame.
Like now they project things in it. And they were building that frame like 6 years ago when we were there.
I know.
And so it's insane, but at the same time, it's like it's all for flash, right? That's just what that's their thing.
Yeah.
Right. Now, on the flip side of that it is the safest I've ever been in a foreign country, any foreign country, because it's just, that's what it is there. Remember when I left my phone at the restaurant?
Yeah.
I came back, 30 minutes later?
Yeah.
Still sitting on the table. No one is sitting at that table. Hadn't moved.
Well, they probably looked at your phone and they're like, that's a child's toy. I got these new ones that are coming out. They haven't even come out yet.
They looked at it like a stone chisel.
They're like, oh, you poor American.
I love Dubai, but the reason why we're putting this out there and to start the show is like, what is the point of Dubai? we can't judge the programming without looking at what the purpose of Dubai is. And when you look at the competition, and you talk to Saud and everybody involved with that, is like they want to create a show and give the athletes a money-making opportunity that they can boast about. I went to Dubai and got this, right? Dubai wants you to talk about Dubai.
Yeah.
That's it. And they want to create a competition that people will talk about and remember. And there were some times where people remembered because the way their bodies felt for maybe 2 months afterwards.
They were, I think, the first event that made it to where every single athlete that showed up got paid.
Yeah.
Which
is a big deal because it's not cheap to get there.
Massive deal, I think, and which is going to make a lot of athletes come in and go like, okay, you know what? Whatever. Throw whatever you have at me because I'm already getting paid, so I'm good. So, and I think there is something that's very freeing and open about doing that, because now you don't have the restraints of whatever. It's like, oh, we don't need to copy anybody else because we're doing what we want to do. But at the same time, if you don't have some people that are very aware of what the programming is, either what the programming is looking like or what it is doing to the athletes,
right?
Then, it's like, okay, there's an element of, okay, monkeys dance, ready, go.
Yeah.
Go. Okay, gladiators, go kill each other, go.
Look how hard that was.
Look how great. Look at everybody have some wine. Let's drink. That's amazing. I mean, there's an element. There's an element of that, But what I think is great though is even with that, like it is kind of double-edged sword for sure. Like these athletes know what they're stepping into, and there are a handful that say like, you know what, I don't want to. But there are other ones that are like, good, because I will. And I think that makes for some fun shows for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, dude, we got Ricky and Roman. Like, come on.
Dude, yeah.
Come on.
I mean, we've had some amazing battles over the years. And Dubai, a lot like Wadapalooza, has been a great stage for up-and-coming athletes.
Oh, huge. Yep.
Right? Laurel Horvath.
Yeah.
No idea who she was. And then at Dubai, we're like, who is this girl?
Yeah.
Karin Freyova.
Dude,
Karin Frey, whichever name she decides to choose at the competition she's over.
Right.
Or Karen, if you prefer to call her by her wrong name. Not a taxidermy deer. 200 years ago, they were sheep herding camels across the desert, /nomadic. Here's a fun thing. So when I was in college, I was majoring in mechanical engineering. And at the time when I was in college, which was 01 to 06, in one of the mechanical structure classes I was talking about, they said at the time in Dubai had 80% of the world's cranes.
Yeah.
Everybody take a moment and think about that. 80% of the world's cranes were in Dubai, building up Dubai. And this was like 2002, 2003. I didn't really understand what it meant. Spin, we'll get there. And so if you look at, well, maybe I should just pull this up. Shoot, I'm running the back end. But if you look at a picture of, let's see, Dubai.
Dude, a span of 10 years.
Yeah.
One of my members, he grew up in Dubai. He was in Dubai when he was a kid and went back there like 10 years later or something like that. And it was like, I didn't even recognize the place at all.
Oh, that's not what I want. Let's see, images. Yeah. So at the time, like Dubai was a desert.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, when was that? I'm like, that was like 20 years ago. Let's see. All right, I can show this. Here. Like they say then and now. Like this was, I mean, look at these things.
That one's nuts.
Right? Like this isn't the 70s when this is Dubai.
Right.
Like this is within the last 20 or 30 years, which is nothing. And it went from that on the left to that on the right in 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And that's what it is. I mean, like that is the wild thing of Dubai. So, all right, let's get into what we're here for. Event number one, now they did have a live broadcast. It was Derek Force and Brian Friend, who's touring the world. I think he's in Italy now. I was like, damn, bro. Living the life.
Do what you can.
Shit, yeah, dude. Anybody that's young and single and like has these opportunities, like I would have for sure done this.
Dude, yeah.
I don't have any regrets because the timing of my life where it was. Like when I met my wife, I had not even joined seminar staff yet. So I met my wife in 2009, 2010. I didn't get on staff until 2012. But if I were single, I would have talked to Dave and Nicole and be like, I would like to travel Europe for 6 months and just book me a seminar every weekend. And I will do that. And just travel the world doing seminars.
Oh, that would be so great.
I say get after it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Event one, it was an obstacle course. This isn't all the obstacles. This is kind of just what I put on there. But with these graphics, we're going to have what type of gymnastics movements, weightlifting, and monostructural were there, a time domain, general physical skills tested. This isn't necessarily a checklist that you have to go through as far as balance. It's just showing what is a part of the event, right? What's being tested, and then movement volume, as well as a few other things. So this is my first go at it. Be gentle. First of all, obstacle course, what was on it? I think there's a video on day one on the Dubai Fitness Championships YouTube page. I don't know if they showed the whole course, but there was another video that previewed it. One of the cooler obstacle courses I've ever seen in CrossFit competition. And it's used for what? Their SWAT team?
Yeah, like their SWAT and military. Yeah.
Which was awesome. And there was up and under bars. There was a like rock wall shimmy, a cargo net, monkey bars that went up and down. And then this like rotating monkey bar thing. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was a cylinder, but it was just bars. And if you grabbed one bar, it moved forward.
It would roll.
Down and rolled forward. A wall you jumped on under a water portion. Didn't know that was in. I was like, why is everybody sweating so much? I get it's hot. I'm like, oh, they went in the water.
Yeah.
That being said, of all the things that are on there, I love an obstacle course because it pushes athletes into the more athletic realm to adapt on the fly, which is really the whole purpose of CrossFit training methodology to begin with.
Yeah. I think anytime you're going to have a competition where the athletes are exposed to something that they are not used to, especially like, I mean, we're fitness athletes, so we should be testing that. And I think that it's always fun to have. There's 8 events total, if you made it all the way through. So I think this is a great element to put into the test. It is a showcase type of event. I wish they could have seen it. It's really hard that like every time they do the showcase event, that's the one that doesn't get broadcast. The run in Burj Khalifa, the ski.
They've tried in the past.
No, I know it's really difficult, and I get it. I was kind of watching what Brian had when they were doing this event here, and I was getting Pendleton feelings. Pendleton, like,
ooh, yeah.
For when they did the run and they did the obstacle course there. So, but I loved it. I thought it was a fun obstacle course. It wasn't a super basic obstacle course. It was very American Ninja style.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I wish I could have seen more of it.
Yeah, me too. And not for a perspective of like, you guys should have done this. It was like, I wish I got to see it.
I would have liked to see it. I've seen barbells. I know what that looks like.
I know what that looks like.
I want to see what the rotating monkey bars really looks like.
But as far as event one goes, classic Dubai. Do something, take people not only where they could never go normally, but where most people are not allowed to go, period. Right? Like how many people get to show up and walk into the SWAT training facility
right,
and run their obstacle course? How many people get to go just onto the Sheikh's desert and run in it?
Yeah.
How many people get to run up the stairs to the Burj Khalifa just on their own? Nobody gets to do that. But Dubai athletes get to do that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I don't know what you're talking about, Javier. Surface level. I don't know what you're talking about. This wasn't a basic. Yeah. He always, like, there are some times he'll make some good comments, and other ones it's just, I think his comments are very surface level. Like, this was not a surface level obstacle.
No. I know what he's talking about.
What's he talking about?
This is what he's talking about. He's being facetious.
Oh, okay. Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
Javier, you almost got him. You almost turned Bill into me for a second.
Dude, I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's great. Okay, so that is event 1, the obstacle course. Absolutely love it. I'm the fan of throwing things at athletes that they have to. Well, then type in James, Javier. You can do that. It's called a reply.
Sorry, bro.
Reply.
You're all good.
But then we come to this. We went from here to out of camera here because the worry, the talk, all the locker room talk came out to, hey, here comes the clean and jerk snatch Olympic total repeat that we just had at the games that we didn't like because of just 2 lifts. And we've seen max this and max that and like border like this. I was one of
in
those.
every single event, dude. Just say it. This is in every single event. It's either one of the lifts or both of the lifts or whatever, but it's in every single event.
Right.
Played out. Done.
Right.
We got it. You want to, okay, real fast, before we get in, one of the best comments I heard about all of the talk, because we had and even in our group, there was a ton of talk about whether this event has been played out enough, was when Bronislav actually talked about it. He's one of the strongest guys out there, has the best mobility out of all the lifters out there. Yeah, I mean, I think his shoulder mobility is insane, even better than like Guy. And here's a strength athlete that is saying, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this lift. Like we're fitness athletes. We should not be trying to be Olympic lifting athletes. Have it in there, but do it another way. We always do it. So I thought that was amazing that he put that out there.
Right. It's like, all right, if you don't want to hear about from us pundits, us not know-it-alls. All right, how about listen to the guy that's going to win this event no matter what, and he says it's stupid.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. I was still at a wait-and-see moment, is like maybe they'll do something, improve upon the games. We said we wanted 3 lifts. Maybe they'll do that. Hey, let's give them 3 lifts, and they can lift a lot. They did quite the opposite.
Right.
And you got to pick one weight. You got 60 seconds and 3 tries to hit that one weight. And then it was over. And then clean and jerk came on. And of the problem I had with this format going in, not knowing how they were going to handle it, and this came out, this is the worst lifting format in event I have ever seen.
Well, it definitely doesn't allow, the whole purpose of having a 1 rep max lifting event in there is to let the athletes lift big. Otherwise, why have it in there? And if you're going to have them lift big, then give them the opportunities to lift big. Not pick one weight, you have a couple attempts, and we'll give you some points based on whether you got it on your first, second, or third attempt. I mean, I thought that was an interesting way to do the tie break. Like, okay, cool. But again, I mean, like, I'll give them a little plus there, little plus. But you're right. It's like, what's the purpose of this event? What do you want them to lift big? Then give them the opportunity to lift big. Like, if you're going to play the game, then just make it like an Olympic lifting competition. Like, just run it up that way. But this way, I didn't.
So the pros that people gave for a weightlifting event is that it allows athletes to lift big, go for big PRs in front of a big crowd. It's fun for the crowd to be able to watch this and cheer these on and watch these guys and girls gladiate out there with a barbell. And then you bring this and it totally takes out only any positive that would come from a 1 rep max. Right. Nobody got to see it. Nobody got to be there. Nobody got to lift heavy. I was blown away by this format.
Yeah.
So, and the title, like Dubai elite lifters clash. And then also there's like 3 names per every event, and I just had to like figure out which one they wanted to go with, whether it's on Instagram or Competition Corner or.
Yeah. And
Nobody got the clash. There's this head to head is like, I'm going 180 kilos. Like, all right, I'm going to go 182. All right. So you have 1 minute. So
yeah.
it's unfortunate that this is what it ended up being.
Well, and then like to Ramler's comments up here, raw strength and testing cold strength, like you can say that is, I guarantee you that that's not what they were thinking, that's when they programmed together, that's what they were trying to come up with. And if that's what they were trying to test.
No. No, it's not Rambler.
That's what I'm saying.
They got to sit in the warm-up area all they wanted and warm up and then go to a judge and be like, this is what I want to hit.
Yeah. It wasn't, wrong. It's not a cold strength test. And in any way, that's not an event tested metric. Let's see how cold we can make you and then lift out. Like that's outside of competition. Because the competition and the whole reason for lifting big is everybody wants to see big. Like that's what everyone keeps saying. They put this in here because you want to see people swinging for the fences, and Chandler Smith pulling 985,000 pounds off the ground for deadlift. Like, people want to see the big number. Yeah. Then let them get the big number, and then showcase the big number. Let people see it.
Right.
So it was a fail.
Yeah. Top list. They combined their snatch lift with their clean and jerk lift. For the women, Karn Frey had 200 total, just by 1 kilo over Mia Hatsketh. Right. Like they were close. A tie between Bronislav and Griffin Raleigh. 300, 290. Like now that's a combo of them. They don't have listed
which is which, yeah.
Which is which. So anyway, as much as I enjoyed event 1, I thoroughly did not enjoy event 2.
Same.
And it was everything that I said it was going to be, and ended up being right. All right. Event 3. Altitude and attitude test. 10 rounds for time, 1 legless rope climb. It's not a short rope, but 10 thrusters at 40 and 30K, which is about 90 and 66 pounds, 88 and 66 pounds.
Yeah.
And then 35 heavy double unders, 12-minute cap, 10 rounds of this. You had legless rope climbs as your gymnastics, which is heavy upper body pulling. Thrusters is a squat and press combo movement. Heavy double unders is shoulder fatigue. But heavy double unders is also grip fatigue, biceps fatigue, and heart rate raising. So there was no real break of any part here. It was originally planned as wall ball shots. I'm not sure why that went away. I like the wall ball a little bit better just because a little lighter cycling time. It was 15 per. That would have been a total Karen of 150 wall ball shots. They switched it to lighter thrusters, still not super light. I mean,
no,
90 and 65 is regular thruster, almost regular thruster weights. But time cap was very short for the volume at which they had. They had a 10 total legless rope climbs, 120 total thrusters, again at 88 and 66, 350 heavy double unders, high volume. We said over here is testing endurance, stamina, strength. The strength is more of a gymnastic strength, not a barbell strength. That upper body pull, coordination and accuracy being a part of the double unders themselves. But I liked this event. I would have preferred them stick with the wall ball targets, and I don't know if that was a product of they didn't have the targets, or didn't bring the targets. If you're gonna switch it to thrusters, 15 wall ball shots at 20 and 14 is drastically different than 10 thrusters at 88 and 66.
Dude,
that's
that's so different. Well, and I think
or go 75 and 55 or 65 and 45.
100%. Dude, they could have gone way light. Way
40, empty
45 and 35. Totally.
Yeah.
40. I mean, because look at how everyone finished. You had a 12-minute cap, and the women basically 8 and some rounds.
Right.
Like not even, and they were smashed in between. Smashed. Like there was a lot of walking, a lot of, and if there was some running, it was very, very light. And even on the men, like there were just a handful that finished, and everyone else was like in that 9th round. It's like, did you guys
Everyone
you guys kept the same time cap when you switched the movement, and then you didn't go back and retest it to see what it was.
right.
Because I think, like, if you would have had this event and go to 5 rounds, then it would have been a fun race.
Ooh.
Because then people would be moving. Then the transition would be big. You would actually be attacking every single piece and the transition and be moving the whole time. I think that would have been a much better event.
Yeah. I mean, what, 3 people finished?
Yeah.
Between the men and the women.
I don't think there were any women that finished.
Well, I know, because there's 3 men on screen that finished.
Right.
11:09, Lazar Jukic, Roman Krennikov, 11:33, Luka Jukic at 11:58. Everybody got capped.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
A tale of 2 thought processes here is, one, I enjoy this, but you got to think about all the things. They announced wall ball shots for 15. Fine. If you got to change it, fine. No one's going to, whatever. Like,
right.
Shit happens. There was another change later. Okay. Look at what Rogue had to do. But this was not an equivalent change.
Yeah.
10 thrusters versus 15 wall ball shots in a weight, right? We went from 20 pounds to 88.
Yeah. You only cut down 5 reps. Like, do the math on the range of motion. I mean, you can power output that and figure out what the math is on that easy.
Right. And so that's one thing. High volume output. Okay. We needed that. We had the obstacle course. We had a weightlifting single rep, and now we have a high volume test, which I like, without doing just monostructural cals. We said that. What episode did we talk about that with? Was that when we were doing the Crash Crucible?
Yeah. 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 Because I know that JR came up in that discussion a bunch about how to implement that.
Mm-hmm. So.
I mean, the event itself is actually really cool. I mean, it's very similar to some of the the games event that we did with the rope climbs and thrusters. Yep. Very similar to the rope climb, the legless rope climbs and sprints. Very similar to the I mean, it's all in there, which is great. But again, it was like, okay, there was you had to make a swivel for whatever reason to take out the wall balls, and it's like, then all of a sudden it changed it. Because now they're not. If it was wall balls, the race would have been way different.
Yes, and I think it would have been more of a race than just a thruster,
a slog, and that's what it was.
Yeah, the slog is coming. They have a slog event coming. Which they have a slog event.
Totally
right. Just have an event where it's just run a mile through mud knee deep. Like that's kind of what it's like, and you should have one of those.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily
but don't take a race. Don't take a high volume race and turn it into a slug. Just because,
Right. The high volume is the race, so you got to make sure that the weights you use allow for the race to unfold.
Right.
The skills you use and the volume at which you use those. If it's more difficult, less of them. If it's higher weight, less of them. Vice versa. If it's lower skill, maybe boost it up. Lighter weight, boost it up, which is what we saw. But that being said, I do like this event. Like, I like it. This is something that I would enjoy somewhat doing. I'd rather have the wall balls.
I know you would.
All right, let's move to event number 4. This was the EMOM. When this one came out, there was a lot of talk of the format. This is really just a 2-2-3 or a 3-3-4 max reps in the time remaining, take a minute break, interval test. But instead of saying you have 3 minutes to do 25 toes to bar, 16 or 12 cals in the echo bike, and then max front squats in the time remaining with a minute rest, trying to get to 60 reps, they EMOM'd it and tried to accomplish the same thing. Here's a piece of the puzzle. This was on the same day, by the way.
Right.
For everybody watching at home. This is on the same day. So we just came off
leg.
120 thrusters. Sorry, 100 thrusters, or 120.
100.
100 thrusters at 88 and 66 pounds. And the next event, you have to get 60 front squats at 95 and 65, which is like 205 and 145. 60 front squats after toes to bar, which potentially is 100 reps, cals on the bike, which in total, if you do 4 rounds, is 16 and 12 per in the minute, and then you coming off of what you just did into this was a rough back-to-back. And the thumbnail in our YouTube was order of events matter just as much as the programming itself. And why is that?
Well, do you want them to race in that event, or do you want everyone to have a handicap coming from the last event to where all of a sudden now this event's going to be muted because of that? You just had them do 100 thrusters. Their legs are blown. They're trying to race that. And now that you have to do you're doing half the number of thrusters, double the weight of thrusters. So you're having them do that exact same thing all over again?
Right.
Like, come on. What are we trying to race? Obviously, in this event, the front squats, that's the race. The other parts aren't the race. I mean, yeah, there were some athletes that didn't get through the EMOM with the volume of like the toes to bar or whatever it was. But they're forced to race the front squats. Well, they had to race the thrusters in the event just before that. So again, it was like, I don't know how those two went back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know where they were thinking that, or if something got moved because maybe they thought maybe they thought the wall balls were going to be there in time on that day, and then it wasn't, and they couldn't switch it in time. I don't know. But like that is a nasty back to back.
Yeah. Now, take it out of context, as Alyssa's saying, it's like the EMOM format was really interesting. Yes. I guess it played out a bit better than I was worried that it wouldn't. My biggest concerns was like, hey, what happens when nobody gets 25? Are they done? Or the bike? Or like what are the implications of something like that? So the programming the right volume for the right minute at the right time is hugely important.
Yeah.
I think after watching that, they did that. It pushed people right to the edge, gave them a little break and got them forward. So it actually turned out better if I just isolate this by itself than I thought it was going to. And this type of format where it's like, hey, get it in as you can, right? Try to get in 3 rounds so you don't have to do more on the back end. I do like those type of formats. And this one shaked out better than I was worried it would turn out to. And it's always an important part when I look at things announced is, okay, let's just wait and see how it goes before I ignorantly assess.
Well, yeah, and you try to, when you read it for the first time, it's like, okay, what are all the things? I know what they're trying to do. I get it. I see the race. I see it's written. It's easy. What things could possibly happen? And if that happens, then what happens? Like just like you said, like what if for some reason, like someone can't do the 25 toes to bar in the first, they slip, they have I don't know, something, whatever the reason is. Right. Like they're done. That's it. They're last. They don't have it. Like they don't have a chance to try to make up from slipping because the bar was slippery or I mean, that is the issue. And you're right. It did work out. Like it was actually like the event.
Yeah.
I like the event. Yeah. The downside on this, and there were a couple events in here, a couple events over the whole competition that I see it more as a training workout rather than a competitive event. And I think this is one of those ones. I love how it's set up. I like it. Yeah. But a competition event, it's like, if something goes wrong, then you just fucked your whole race.
Right.
And I think that's where you got to be careful. I think it would have been better just to go 3 minutes 3 times. And
3 minute, 1 minute break.
Yeah. I think that would have been a better call. You would have had all the stuff in there. Then the other pieces would have mattered a little bit more. Like even, during the broadcast that, Brian was saying, he's like, for the majority of the athletes, the first 2 movements really don't matter. You don't want to crush that.
Right.
You're not trying to push it. You just
some guys did on the bike. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
Right. Right. But I think you would have had just as much excitement, just as much show, just as much everything if you would have just made it 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
The minute rest in between.
This is interesting, actually, from Zach. Every missed rep is subtracted from your squat score. So say you were like, hey, what do you do if you don't get 25? It's like, all right, well, if you get 20, those 5 reps you didn't do, they take it away from your squats. I like that, actually.
Yeah.
That's a hefty penalty.
Yeah, it is.
But it keeps people in the game too. It's like, hey, listen, you can't skip this round, right? Like, oh, well, if you skip a round, you get no squats. There is somewhat of a benefit there. If you're not trying to win, you're like, well, I can just blow myself out of the water for the first 2 rounds, take the 3rd round off, and then win the 4th one.
The Pat Barber style.
Yeah, right. But if you're like, well, if you skip a round, you're going to lose 31 squats.
Right.
I'm down with that. Or more than that. Shoot, 41.
Yeah.
I like it, Zach. I like it. Okay. High volume. Hold 100 total. Now, someone else was like, not everybody did 100 thrusters. Only 3 did. I'm like, correct, but
True.
It doesn't matter because they programmed it to be 100, and then they thought, hey, let's throw another 60 at them behind it. It's the intent of the programming versus what happened.
Yeah, when you program it, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. You
unless
program
the
like
plan
everything
is
to do it.
Unless you put 10 rounds and you're only planning on them getting through 6 or 5. Like, we'll make it, but like I'm going to set up the time frame. So they weren't thinking that way.
Matt Burns, do comp directors or programmers ever reach out for advice or review? Yes.
After we say something,
hey, what do you think? I'm like, man, this question would have gone over way better before. Way better before. They ask other people, but sometimes they ask us before. Okay. So we agree that the squat to squat, back to back,
bad.
Oh. Format.
Poor athletes.
Format. Okay with it. It turned out okay. Your preference would have been 3-minute AMRAP, 1 minute rest. I'm also in that camp. However, it didn't take away from anything in the EMOM format they did. If people were missing on the minute, then I'm like, dude, this is a total disaster.
It worked. I still feel that the design, it lends itself more to training rather than a competition.
That's true. And the other format, like you said, if it was just a 3-minute AMRAP getting his max box, or sorry, people were about and there's also an element of strategy.
Right.
Now, some of the strategy that people had is like, I'm going to break up my toes to bar and just milk the minute, which is good.
Yeah, totally.
So I get it. So, all right. This was still day 2. And then day number final event of day 2. Event number 5 called elimination. And this was a bracket style elimination event. And every round was 15 cals on the bike erg, 10 burpee box jump overs at 24 and 20 inches, and then a 30-meter sandbag carry. And I think it was a Husafel bag.
Yeah.
At 20 or 200 and 150 pounds. They went from 30 athletes to 20 to 10 to 5, so 4 total rounds of competition. This was a sprint, right?
Yeah.
Dead sprint, majorly about the bike, because there wasn't a whole lot of separation on the burpees. You could actually separate everywhere. But it was like blast the bike, smash the burpee box, and then just try to not collapse across the finish line. And the 15-10, and my only OCD thing is if you just made it 9 burpee box jump overs, because you would end up on the other side and you can just grab the bag and go. People jump over the box and walk around the box. I was like, that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep them rolling. That said, if I take this out of the picture of the whole lineup of events we have, I liked this as a just send it goal. And I think Saud said I tried to create something that was a lot like acid bath. He wanted something short, nasty, you had no choice but to send it from the start. And if you didn't, you will not advance. You have to push the bike faster than you want to. You have to do burpees faster than you probably ever have over box. And then when you don't want to, the most is pick up that Husafel back and then try to run with it.
Right.
30 meters wasn't short. People were getting past That was a cool part too, is that it was long enough that it wasn't a sure thing. It wasn't who got to the bag first won. We saw people drop the bag, stumble, fall. We got to see all of that. I liked this combo of stuff for an elimination style. Why? Because the judging was very minimal, for one.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Very minimal. Get your chest to the ground. That's all I'm really looking for. Don't touch the box with your hands. So when you look at other elimination events, and say Rogue is the most recent example, they crushed it.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, well, you let the race be the race,
Let 'em race.
not let the race be the judging or no reps or whatever. I taken by itself, the event is awesome. I love, dude. I did not think that these athletes would have the issues with getting that bag up the way that they did. Like
Right.
it was amazing seeing some people getting to the bag first and then crossing the line sixth. You know, in their heat. It was insane. But how it set in and where it set in and what we just did,
Right.
you're gonna make them do the bike now?
So refresher for those of you guys watching on YouTube, we just did Cal Bike in an EMOM of which you had to push the pace to make the minute. We just went biking. Let's back up even more. We just did 100 thrusters.
60
We
front
did
squats.
max front squats at 205 and 145 and echo bike sprinting. And now we're going to another bike sprint. So we went squat to bike to bike. And as far as the sequencing of events go, this is a very poor order of programming.
Yeah.
I get it. It's the last event of the night. We want to make it fun. Great. That's fine. Then switch things up. But we just went back to back of just interference, and it was structured in a way of like, you don't do that. You just don't do that. Why don't we do a ski erg?
Right. That's what I was thinking
You
the
had
whole
him
time.
there.
I was watching it the whole time. I'm thinking that the whole time. I'm like, why don't they just make him ski?
Because
Why,
then you go a pull flexion upper body. Skiing is an upper, like it blows your triceps and lats up.
Totally.
And it's a core demanding thing, right? Anterior flexion, squeezing, crunching. And then you go to a burpee, which now I have to be explosive off the ground with my triceps and chest that I just smoked on a ski erg into more explosive flexion with jumping. And now I've got to pick up a Husafel bag with my interior core absolutely smoked, my arms totally gone, and it's just hoping that my posterior chain does not explode on my way across the finish line.
And having to hold on to the handles if you're doing the ski and then having to hold that bag, like ripping. Right. That was the first, like 3, 2, 1, go ping. Why don't they have a ski? Immediately, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
Again, cool event, bad placement, bad choice of movements with the placement.
Right.
I just want to be like, something I think that programmers need to understand is, okay, just because you aren't an elite athlete, you have to understand what you're putting. You have to know what the stimulus is that you're presenting. You can't just go, yeah, this is going to be great because it's hard. You have to understand what it is that you're putting out there to make it be what it is. And I guarantee you, anyone that does at whatever level that they are, these 4 events back to back to back will have to be wheeled off the floor.
Yeah.
Like legs would be shot. Oh my God.
I mean, you've effed the legs from event 3 to 4 and now going to 5. And if you had, and this is where we saw it, if you had just switched it to a ski erg, you were not going below parallel. You were not using the legs except for jumping. And you were creating an interference piece of equipment that actually plays into the next 2 movements that you have.
Yeah.
It would have been beautiful. Now, on the flip side, and I see Spin, a couple of people talk about this, about not liking elimination events or round table. Like the biggest draw away from these things is the time it takes to get from round to round.
Yeah.
That being said, is that it's also a part of, it's almost necessary because going round to round, you're having multiple heats of rounds. It's different if it was all 30 going at once and then all 20 and all 10 and all 5 at the same time. The problem is when you run heats, you might have 4 people from heat 1 move into the round of 10 and
go right away.
People from heat 4, round 1 has had 10 minutes of rest and you get 1. Yep. You can't do that. So in my opinion, not that anybody's asking, but it's my fucking show. So if you're going to do an elimination bracket, you have to have everybody start at the same time every round. That is the only way you can get this done in a timely manner where athletes get the appropriate amount of rest and they just move on to the next one. I think everybody will fully accept a 5-minute break. Also, you can offset men and women, right? 40 men go, 3-minute break, 40 women go, 3-minute break. In those 6 minutes, you should have been able to find your top 30 men. Then the top 30 men roll out. 30 men go, 30-minute break, 30 women go, so on and so forth. And the only way to streamline this is to offset men and women when they go and then they rest and have everyone go at the same time. And it is the most fair, even playing field you can do. And I think it'll be the most exciting format in a format that can be exciting than ever. Because then we know who's like, did they beat the time before? Or what is it like? That's so hard to follow. So that's my opinion.
No, I agree. Again,
and the other is it shouldn't have been a bike. It should have been a skier.
Yeah, totally. I just think that, again, when you're putting these events in there, you have to put yourself in the athlete's shoes. Are you the one that just finished and have to race the people that have been resting? It's going to be a big deal. And you can't just overlook that and be like, well, you're supposed to be in shape. If you were in their shoes, you wouldn't want that.
Right.
So think about the stimulus that you're trying to put on the athlete and think about how do you make it the fairest race? Because every athlete, like you can make the ugliest workout, like cool, make it so it's some big grindy whatever. But yeah, no bias.
And no bias.
I agree, Chelsea. But you have to make it to where it's like, okay, as long as the race is fair, cool, then you're not going to have any complaints.
Right.
The second it's not, then you're gonna have to field all of that crap the rest of the competition.
Yeah. So I didn't mind the format for what it is, aside from us, yeah, Brian, you're totally right. This is exactly what we're talking about. Ricky coming into this, I don't think they reseeded during the day, at least not on the second day. Ricky was in like 17th after day 1.
I know.
So he said Ricky had a huge advantage because he was in the first heat and got more rest than the others in there. Yeah, you're right. Totally. And that's exactly what we're talking about. If you want to perfect the format, we just told you how to do it. Everyone has to go at the same time and just whittle them down from there. And if you don't like that, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Or just be fine with us not enjoying it. All right. Event 6. This was the beginning of day 3. This is a 3-day competition. They were cutting to 20 athletes after this event, which they didn't tell anybody until when they got there. So, this thing had like 6 different names. I chose the DFC Original Challenge. They had called it something else, but as it was written, originally they had 800-meter run in this chipper, but I think something happened to the runners, so they switched to ski-ergs they had available for it. Now, I'll go through it. 50 cal ski, 40 A-jumps. A-jumps is a ballistic block where you squat below and your butt touches the block, then you jump up on top of the block with your feet together, stand up all the way. 30 single-arm devil press at 1 dumbbell, so a 70 and a 50-pound dumbbell. Switch hands as you do that. 20 deck squats with a 53 and 35-pound kettlebell. It's where you're standing tall with the kettlebell at your chest. You basically sit down, roll back, touch the kettlebell to the ground, roll it forward, stand up, and touch the kettlebell to your chest. 10-bar muscle-ups, then you worked your way back. So 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Here's how we're not throwing out changes and solutions willy-nilly. I realize. I'm sorry for saying willy-nilly. I apologize for that. That bike erg you used the day before, you put it here.
Yes. God.
You put it right here. Why? Because 50 cals on the bike erg is a lot less demanding and time consuming than 50 cals on the ski erg. And it would flow nicely to take over the run you just did, because the run is a lower body only movement, 800-meter run on a runner. That is devastating to the hamstrings and calves if you've ever been on an air runner. You put the bike here, you put the ski erg at the elimination, and now there's less bitching from Chase Ingram. Not that that's how you should program, so you don't want to hear about me on a podcast, but you know.
Well, it's not like they're not going to see other leg stuff anyway. But like, yeah, you're right. I don't. The skis were there.
It's right there.
Why? I don't know why. I think, you know what I think it is? I think that people don't see ski like the bike, any of the bikes, either of the bikes. I think they see that as I think they see it as a sprint. But when they think rowing and they think ski erg, I don't think they see it as a sprint. That's what I think. Just in that head, I think that's how it just kind of rolls. That's why.
Yeah.
But man, yeah. Jeez, oh man.
Yeah. Let me correct one word, Corey. I'm not bitching. Bitching is complaining with no solutions being offered.
Or explanation of. Like, these aren't just like, that's dumb. That's bitching.
Constructively. Bitching would be like, I don't like this.
That's stupid because it's dumb.
That's stupid because it's dumb. Ski erg is boring. And I'm coming around on the ski erg, by the way. Okay, so you look at the overall total volume. Ski erg, you have 100 total cals. A jump, 80. Devil press, 60. For the record, A jumps are squats. Yep. Devil presses are squats. So now we have 140 more squats to the programming. You have 10 bar muscle ups.
Elite level athletes doing 10.
So when you ride it over here, so if you guys see this, when you ride it over here, it looks really cool. Oh, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. But then you look at it over here and it's 180, 60, 40, 10. And what should it be for those of you guys listening and learning at home? This number should be 20.
Minimum.
If this number is not going to be 20, then these 10 need to have a difficulty level to rival these 20 and these 30. This is the thing you guys need to learn about programming chippers. The 50 of this must be pretty close to 40 of this, which should be pretty close to 30 of this and 20 of this. Not a yawn fest in the middle and I'm right back to the kettlebell. This is how you program chippers, especially if you're dropping numbers. That's why it's so difficult to do. These things as a chipper should all be relatively equal as far as intensity, time, and difficulty. And that's the beauty of the chipper is how do I match a 30 movement to a 10 movement? How do I match those the same? Not this looks cool on paper until I look at the total volume and it's not cool anymore.
It's the idea of when we looked at the 2008 CrossFit Games and we had 30 double unders. And all the other things, you know, the long 2009. That's right. So we have that, and you guys are all, I'm sure you guys are all going to be doing your 12 days of Christmas events that are coming up.
Oh yeah.
No one should be having the first movement as like one air squat,
one burpee.
Yeah. No, it should be something that's hard for one.
Right.
You know, like that's the point to where every single one of those elements are, and they don't, I mean, it doesn't have to be completely exact, but the idea is that like every one of those steps should make sense. And you have all this volume and then 10 bar muscle ups for this level of athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, it should have been 20 and you have to do them unbroken. You know what I mean? Like,
or make 10 unbroken.
Something. Well, they could all do 10 unbroken. Fuck, I can do 10 unbroken.
Barbell spin. We don't need that slander in here. I am a Patreon member of Talking Elite Fitness because I support people in the space. No need to shame people for that. There's nothing wrong with supporting others. I do it.
So, Merry Christmas, Brian.
Yeah, back off. This is not the Savon podcast. It's reserved for that show, of which I watch religiously. So
there you go. Support them.
And I'm also a Patreon member of Brian Friend and the Buttery Bros and Morning Chocolate. Why? Because give and receive. That's how I feel. Moving on. Now I get if you come over here and you're like, oh, this looks really nice. And I have that same sentiment, right? So 50, 30, 20, 20, 20. You're like, I don't know if I like that. But again, volume matters. The volume of 20 deck squats to 30 single arm devil press was good.
Yeah.
Those were on par. 40 A jumps took time. They just were exhausting. It's funny how, I mean, it's like a burpee. It's just that monotonous. This isn't hard. I just got to keep going. So
You want to know what would be, have the exact same thing. It would be a little bit much, but flip the numbers. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
like 10 cal ski?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I would rather see that. Have them go the other way. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they would be able to do sets of 20, no problem.
right.
Like the set of 10, it's like you don't even have that in there. You don't need it.
Right. Yeah.
Just
I mean, I'm nitpicking. I'm
I'm
nitpicking.
not. No, you're not. Because that was one of the first things I had on there. It was like, okay, look at, because what have you seen gymnastics skill wise so far?
Okay. Nothing.
Right. Right.
Well, the 10 Lego rope climbs.
Okay. Whatever.
And some would argue the obstacle course.
I won't say that. I mean, I could say you could throw it in there,
still-
but like, no, I get it. But like, if you're looking at classic gymnastic volume
right.
that we've had,
Ready? I'm just mixing things around and putting in odd places, but do you feel like if this was just 10 rope climbs, that actually would have been a better 10?
yeah,
Just regular rope climbs.
sure.
Not legless. Just
100%.
because this is the grindy run in the mud workout.
Right.
This is the slugfest. 10 rope climbs. There's really no point of failure for these athletes with that. It's just grind through it.
Think about the quarterfinal event, the deadlifts and the rope climbs, where it all came down to the 9 rope climbs, and that was the race.
Mm-hmm.
You had a great race at 9 rope climbs. You would have a great race here with these athletes at 10 rope climbs.
Yeah. And then in the
You've already repeated other movements, so you might as well have the 10 rope climbs and have the 10 here too.
And then I would have put just put bar muscle ups, like 3 bar muscle ups.
On the other one, yeah.
On the other one, 10 rounds of 3, 10, and 30. Oh shit!
3, dude.
Fucking nailed it. All right,
Done.
problem
You're welcome.
solved. So 50 cal bike erg, 10 regular rope climbs. Throw the bar muscle ups on the third event, and it's 10 rounds of 3 bar muscle ups, 10 thrusters, and 30 heavy double unders. Take the 5 off.
Yes, totally, dude.
What's the 5 in there for, anyways? Okay. And we march on. A jumps, it's a squat jump. Bar muscle ups, it's pulling and pressing. I put the pulling first of the pressing, just so you guys understand where my brain's going, is that the pulling portion of the bar muscle up is more difficult than the pressing. That's why it comes first. Devil presses is a hinge, pull, and press. It requires a lockout through the top. The deck squats is flexion as you go down in the bottom position, jumping, and then, oh, sorry, that was meant to be devil press, not deck squats. Oh, no, I was right. Sorry.
You're right. You're right.
I was getting ahead of myself. The deck squat, flexing, holding onto that weight, hinging, bending over, squatting, and then that pull through to the top. It's if you guys never done one, it's a hard movement. It's a weird movement.
Yeah, I do those. I call them weighted reverse burpees. I do that for like a home version for bar muscle.
That's what a reverse burpee is. So
yeah,
you nailed it.
Yeah.
Ski erg, flexion, tricep fatigue. 18 to 20 minutes. So this is our long event of the weekend. I would say as far as Dubai goes, traditionally, this is the shortest
of their long ones.
Shortest of the long ones they've ever had.
Yeah, by far.
Yes, Allegra, I am. I don't know if you're talking to me. I don't know if you guys, who are you talking to? High volume, 100 reps on the ski erg, 80 on the A jumps, 60 on the single arm devil press, 40 on the deck squats, 10 bar muscle ups, total volume high. As we said, we're testing endurance, stamina, agility and coordination, more involved with the A jumps and the bar muscle ups. So we have now cut to 20, and we have the event that shall not be named. It did not get a name, so it's just event 7. And I'll start with pulling this out on paper, just looking at 21:15.9 power cleans and 90-meter farmer carries with 200-pound or 150-pound jerry can bags. And I really like this one a lot. I just power clean it, go for it. The problem was nobody got to do it because the time cap was too short.
Time cap was too short, and then they didn't make it to where the farmer's walk counted. Like there were so many ties because they didn't break up that distance on the farmer's walk. So when you have 4 people tying for first place or 4 people tying for 5th place, like that messes up that event.
Yeah.
This, to me, the way it's set up, now granted the time cap is a time cap. Time cap is wrong. But I saw this as the way it was set up and the way that the scoring was done, as I see this one also as a workout training event rather than a competition event, because of the fact you have so many people that are getting all within the same 30 meters of distance, and they all now have the same score. Even though someone is 29 meters ahead of me, I am tied with you. You can't do that in competition. You can't have
every male got capped.
Yeah.
And
I think all the women
everyone got capped.
Everyone got capped.
Everyone
got capped, and there was a tie for 4, a 4-way tie for first for the women.
5-way tie.
5-way tie? 5-way tie.
Frey, Andreas Solberg, Manon Anganese, Emily Rolfe, and Devin Kim all got 100 points, and none of them were next to each other.
Right.
None of them.
That's what I mean.
And then a 4-way tie for 6th, and then the lone person in 10th. Only one person got the correct score, and that was Claudia. She got 10th. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not correct because this is 20 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people tied for 10th, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You cannot do that if you're having cuts. You cannot do that, period. There should have been 5-foot markers on the field, and you got 1 rep for every marker that you walked back. 30 meters down.
You know what's crazy, dude? Is
50
those
meters down.
They were there. I looked at the line. The mark was there. I don't know why. Yeah. I mean, it was just a little hashtag on the lane line, but I saw that they were there. I'm like, why didn't they have to have that? Why are all these firsts? You have to have that. And it was there, but that's not how they scored. They didn't use those. I don't know what it was used for. They didn't use them. So because of that, it now turned into not a competitive event. To me, it was a training event.
DeJuan, what is the problem with a short, aggressive time cap? There is no problem given that people actually get to complete the test or the event at all. When it's short and aggressive, you're not allowing people to actually compete. You're just cutting them off. And when you have this sandwich in between cutting to 30 and then cutting to 10, this is a great event. This is the thing, is like, I like this program. 21:15.9 power cleans at 176 and 115. And then farmer walk, like, wonderful. Blowing up the grip, blowing up the midline, making the power cleans. Do you do touch and go? Can you hang on to the bags? Like, there was so much involved here. It was actually one of the better programmed events of the entire weekend, especially for a short event, which is tough to do. And then you throw this time cap in there, like as if nobody tested this event.
Right. Actually, it would have been, to his question, it would have been programming wise better to have a very soft time domain, because then everyone has to finish.
Right.
Because then now you have the time, you have the actual time clock, which is now your score. Not, there was 8 of us that all finished on the same lap. Because now it forces everyone to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some great potential races that got cut short. Brian Spin nailed it. He said if the athletes could have finished, he would have had a good race at the end. There were so many athletes sprinting around trying to get as far as they could in 5 minutes versus racing each other. Corey says, I think a 7-minute cap. 2 minutes. So
what if you would have 21 in 3 laps, 15 in 2 laps, 9 in 1 lap to finish?
I mean, if you wanted to get under the time cap, yes, but to take away from the event itself, I liked how the farmer carries mattered more as the event went on.
Hmm.
I want those. I want something that unique. Goodbye. I want something that unique to have a factor in it. I don't want it to be a power clean event.
Oh, I get that. I
Right?
get that.
I like that. And then we didn't get that. And so I know I'm getting a little heated on a 5-minute time cap, but it's because you actually programmed a great event that had great races. And shit, Andreas Solberg out there just like taking it to Karin Frey. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Karin Frey is like 2 of her.
Right.
And Solberg's out there just rolling with it, but we didn't get to see the finish.
Yeah, because she blew right by her too.
Yeah, it was great.
Blew right by her.
And actually another weird piece of this was transitions of putting the bag down and turning. Like Karin Frey was actually losing time to Andrea because her transitions were slow.
Dude, slow. Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
Totally. I know.
And then I got cut short at 5 minutes. I was so into this event because I really, really did like it. And I still love it. It's just that the time cap, like, this is education for you guys. Is like time cap is not just as important, is a important part of the puzzle, important piece of the puzzle.
Well, it's like, do you want to see your event? Do you want to see it's making this whole beautiful painting and having it covered half of it so you don't get to see it. So you're right. I mean, we didn't get to see the beauty of the race.
Right.
And
it was there too. It was there. It was so great. And we're cutting to 10.
I mean, the fact that there were that many ties, that's the race, you guys. Like, don't you want to see how those would finish out? Of the 5 that were tied for first, you didn't want to see who would be first and who would be second, third, and fourth, and fifth?
Right. 5-way tie for first on the women. 4-way tie for sixth. On the men's side, for event 7, 1, 2, actually we had less.
Yeah, I think it was until like 5th place or something like that.
Fifth. 4/5. A little bit more spread out on the men's side, but like these ones mattered. Right? You had Kalen out there, got himself a solid 3rd. He needed that. He was in 12th, so he ends up getting cut. But there are some people like Luka Jukic. Like there were some important place finishes here that had a big impact on where people ended up getting cut or not getting cut.
Yeah.
All right. So just again, it's another one of those things to think about when you guys are programming. What is this time cap going to do to the event itself? And we've talked about, to Dewan's comment, and not to say anything wrong there, that was a legitimate and great question, is that we've seen events programmed where the time cap dictated the intensity of the event. The problem here is nobody could finish it, regardless of how hard they wanted to go or could go. They didn't have enough time. It's different than having, say it was 6 minutes. Add a minute. We would have had people racing to the finish line here.
Yeah.
And people would have known, is like, okay, I have to really push the pace more than I want to finish this, versus no one's finishing this. Like, it just changes the scope and the intensity of the workout.
The athletes will know if they need to just sit within the one length of the 30 meters or not.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to hang in here. I just can't let them turn. I just have to hang right behind them, so I stay in that same lane with them. That's the same rep. So
right. Allegra, do we know who tested the events? Not all the people. I heard Brandon Luckett was one of them. I know you didn't finish this. Skills tested here. Short time domain, stamina, strength, speed, and power. That's all this was, which is great. This is good. We just had a slog, and now we went to speed, power output. Great. Great placing. Power cleans, 45 total reps, 270 meters of total farmer carry, low volume event. High intensity. Slog fest, high volume, short sprint, high intensity. Great. Great. The final. That's what it was called. Handstand walk course. And what this course was, if you guys didn't watch, it was about what? Maybe 5 to 10 meters, maybe 5 meters, 5 meters through 2 cones, 2 freestanding handstand push-ups into 10 meters of cones. And it had to be unbroken. So walk, 2 handstand push-ups, walk a little bit further, get across the line. Then you go into a single arm dumbbell shoulder overhead, 10 on one arm, 10 on the other at 70 and 50 pounds. 15 overhead squats at 132 and 88, 60 and 40 kilos. 10 muscle ups, ring muscle ups here. 15 overhead squats, 10 shoulder overhead, and then a handstand walk course on the way back. The handstand walk course stipulation that it had to be unbroken, the whole thing. Slalom walk, handstand push-up, slalom walk. Everything else here in the middle was just massive interference for that going into the ring muscle-ups, because the ring muscle-ups, the hardest part of a ring muscle-up, different than a bar muscle-up, is the lockout, the dip, the press-out, which is why when we have muscle-ups here, it's pressing and pulling. Handstand walk, freestand, handstand push-ups. But you look at these movement patterns: overhead squat, squat and pressing, or shoulder overhead, pressing. Muscle-ups, pressing and pulling. Handstand walk, pressing. Free handstand push-ups. Like, it was all the shoulder overhead that we didn't do
the entire competition,
except for thrusters.
Other thrusters.
And is here. Remove it. Even honestly, by itself, this is one of my more favorite ones because of what it demanded from the athletes, especially at the end. And it all came down to that last handstand.
The last handstand walk, totally.
The whole thing. Now you could, and actually, like, your opinion is, do you like that it all came down to that one movement? Because if you saw Karin Frey, what'd she spend? 2 or 3 minutes trying to get the first one? And then she caught up to 6th place by the end because nobody else could do the final walk unbroken.
Right.
Athletes.
Well, then even where Ricky was what, a minute ahead? I think it was he won by like a minute.
Dude, Ricky freaking
crushed it,
destroyed everyone here.
I know. It's so nuts.
Like, Ricky's last day was insane, and we'll get there when we wrap things up here in a minute. But
I think that this would have been, because of how it all came down to that final event, I would have rather had this event be earlier in the week or earlier in the competition, so that you have all the athletes that could, because that would really throw a wrench in with everybody, rather than just being here at the end. Not as an elimination one, not as an elimination event, but put it to where everyone, like, it's going to affect everyone.
Okay.
Because, like, look what it did with Frey, which she had.
Right.
You put a couple other athletes in there, and then that becomes a bigger drop. So all of a sudden, you have an athlete that, okay, maybe they aren't as big and strong, maybe they aren't as fast, but they can do this, and it's like, let them kind of play in there and throw the wrench into the mix a little bit, but early in the competition, so that it doesn't just fuck everybody. You know what I mean?
All right. How about this? You put this as event 7, and you make event 7 event 8. So I know we're going chipper to chipper. I get that, but we went from 20 minutes to 10. It was a lot of lower body slugging. This is upper body with some high skills. They said more athletes in the field to offset. Don't change a thing. And then put event 7, which was a 21. Like, event 7 is the sprint finale.
That's a race. That's the excitement you want to finish. Yeah, totally.
And so here we are saying event order matters. That was the whole reason of part of talking about this, is that now we go 20-minute cut, 10-minute high skill, like slugfest cut, right? Slugfest cut, high skill cut. Now we have 10, all 10 going at the same time, and it's first person across the finish line. We know who the champ is.
Yeah.
And it's a dead sprint. You put the time, you don't even put a time cap.
No, just they make them finish. They have to finish.
Right? That's a finale. Now we go like, damn.
I do. Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been way more exciting. It would have made a lot more sense. It would have had a lot more activity on the
And
for
to
the
be fair, there was
leaderboard.
a lot of excitement here too. There's a lot of drama because I was like, "Oh shit, Conor
Yeah,
Frey."
but the drama was they're not going to finish it. They're not going to
Right,
make
not
it.
not
Not
who's
like,
gonna
are
win.
they going to be able to step? It wasn't
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
my gosh, they're racing to the end, or it's like step for step for step. It wasn't anything like that. You don't want for your final, you don't want people standing there waiting for them to recover enough to get up on the line to actually do the movement.
yeah.
You want everyone to just like throttle down all the way and they're all going for it.
Right, right.
That's where you want in your finale.
You want to race,
You want to race.
right? Now this was exciting. I was sitting there at the edge of my seat, just wondering who's going to get, because Conor Frey was in a position that if she had gotten last and Gluck got first, or Solberg got first, which I think she did, she would actually have lost the whole thing, and she was ahead by almost 90 points.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, she gonna lose an entire competition off a handstand walk,
Right.
which we've seen before, right? But yeah, order of events. Put this one, which is really a high-skilled gymnastics test with interference. Nobody's failing the shoulder overhead. Nobody's failing the overhead squats. Nobody's failing the ring muscle-ups. It all came down to, can you do it fresh and can you do it fatigued on a handstand walk course? Which is fine. Is great. Put that in there. You just made people slug it out for 20 minutes. Low skill. Very low skill. And then you come into the final, which would have been this, and it's like, now race. Power cleans and farmer carries.
You don't want
tricked here.
You don't want a high skill finale.
Yeah.
You want a race in the finale.
Right.
You want to either step by step or everyone's just all out going crazy going for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. You don't want to. I think you don't want. I just think it's not as exciting when the skill now is so high again, and they've done that. They've done it with like rope climbs, and they've done that with other events in Dubai where it sounds great. It's like, here we're just gonna throw this nutso thing, and it's like, well, yeah, now no one can do it.
Right.
So it's like you don't have a race anymore because everyone's waiting for themselves to recover to be able to get ready to do the pieces. You don't want that for your final.
Yeah.
You want people throwing haymakers.
Yes, you do.
It's too bad.
That's too bad. Close.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the programming on this day, okay. Order of events, not so much. End of the weekend, just to show you guys where we're at. Conor Frey takes it for the women, 702 points. Andrea Solberg, I cannot express how impressed I am with her performance. She looks like a total different athlete. Like she's put on some good muscle mass, because hers, like, she was a gymnastics freak, and now she's moving some weight. I mean, to be ahead of Conor Frey in the 21:15.9 power clean sandbag, like, she was beating her. Like, that shows you have come into play here. And then Claudia Gluck, building off her semifinal performance.
Yeah.
She made a name for herself in a couple events there, and now she's over here getting top 3 in Dubai. For the men, Roman Karenikov takes it. Ricky Garrard takes second. And really it's just because of this one finish here for Ricky. That 25th place. Well, not the one finish, but that one didn't help.
Right.
Like, dude, he gets 25th, loses 84 points to Roman to start the weekend. But if you look at Ricky's last day, Ricky gets 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and 1st. Now, Roman did exactly what he needed to do. He's like, okay, 6th, lost 3 places. 4th, that wasn't the last day. Ricky's last day, 2nd, 1st, 1st. Roman's last day was 4th, 2nd, 2nd, so he just doubled his places. It was insane. Like, Ricky's last day was phenomenal. I should say Andrea Solberg's last day was very good as well. She pulled a Ricky, 2nd, 1st, and 1st on the last day. And so, good on them. And Lazar Jukic getting top 3 overall. So, all right, Bill. Brian Spin had a question in here. Oh, did you stop some time domains being tested?
I think when we're talking CrossFit stuff, we want that kind of between that 8 and 12-minute range for the most part, and I think that they were right around that. They had a lot of sprint ones for sure. They didn't have their real long one. Their longest one was the 21 and 22-minute cap, but everyone was kind of around that 18 to 20-minute mark. So I think it was a little less than normal. But I think that, generally speaking, I think they were okay. I think they had, even though you had a couple of the sprints, you did rounds of the sprints.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of added up, you're still kind of right in that like 8-minute realm.
I thought they were
realm.
decent, actually.
I liked them. I liked them.
The obstacle course, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the athlete. The lift is the lift. It's a heavy day, so that's in there. The 10 to 12-minute 10 rounder, followed by the intervals of 2 minutes, followed by the 20-minute plus one, sub 5 minute, and another 10-minute one.
Yeah, I think they were fine.
Actually, their time domains they did very well on, except the time caps might have been
right.
Could have been adjusted more. But,
Yeah.
All right, Bill. Our Element 26 thumb tape review of the Dubai Fitness Championship. Would you like to lead us off?
Okay, I'll go. I really like Dubai. I like what they have to offer. I like what they try to do. I like the spectacle of the show that they're always trying to do. It's definitely a different flavor, I think, than a lot of other competitions, and it allows a lot of opportunity, both financially and name-wise, early in the season before they hop into the season. So it allows a lot of opportunities for the athletes to get out there and mix it up. I feel that they don't really understand what they're trying to offer the athletes a lot of times. If it was, I don't know if Luckett was testing the events or if he was one that was programming a handful of the
Ryan
events.
said he just did one of them because he's part of like that Imam company.
Okay.
So that might have been
okay.
the only one. I know Saud had a big. That's his baby.
Yeah, and I know that like they have a collective group that kind of play with that. And again, one of the things that I think is rough when you are programming for elite level athletes is understanding truly what it is that you're giving them. Not that every great programmer has to be the most elitist of athletes, but you have to understand what it's going to feel like and what that's going to do to your athletes when they're competing over the course of the competition. I think that they miss that a lot of times. All the legs back to back to back to back to back. The same exact stimulus on one side and then really lacking a lot of the stimulus. Just because you have one event that has all this high skill doesn't mean that like, oh, okay, cool, we checked all the boxes. No, you did that in one event. I like that event. That was cool with the handstand walking and all the shoulder stuff because they needed that because they had a very minimum. I mean, 10 rope climbs, okay, I got it, but not everyone did all the rope climbs. You had your 10 bar muscle ups and 10 ring muscle ups. Cool. But again, these are some of the big names in our space, and that is the smallest amount of gymnastic pulling volume that I've ever seen in any competition that we've had,
and them specifically.
Totally. And so I think that they missed a lot of those pieces. There were some events that were by themselves kind of cool. I like that they had the obstacle course. I really like the obstacle course. I'd like that they gave them the opportunity to do that. I like some of the setups that they were trying. I like the Imam attempt. I'm glad that it worked out better than what it could have worked out as. Again, I wouldn't programmed it that way, but I think that it still worked out okay. But it just feels like there was a lot of disconnect about what they were wanting to do and then what actually happened as far as like what the stimulus was on the athletes and for the competition itself. So, again, I like a handful of the events. We know that we could have made some switches. We even said what they were. So I think I'm going to have to go like a 0.75,
Okay.
0.08 or 0.8. I mean, somewhere in there. Okay. Almost a 1, not quite a 1. And I didn't even talk about the lifting because it makes me angry to talk about it. So,
all right. So you got 3/4, 0.75.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to make this really easy. I've got 4 quarters right here. 8 events. Event 1, obstacle course. You get to keep one. Event 2, lifting event.
Lost it.
Gone. Event 3, I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it. It was a thruster one. Okay. You still get it. Event 4, you put squats in right after you did a bunch of squats. That's a no. That is an absolute no. Event 5, elimination. You went back to back with the bike, and your order was not in order. Slogfest programming, don't mind it. Needed to be there. Sprint, time cap, miss. And then you had a great finale with those movements. Now you couple that with, okay, that's just events themselves. You couple that with the fact that a lot of these things could have been avoided with a little bit of extra thought and process and talking it out. Like, I don't know what type of roundtable they have. A lot of the times you may see is that it's a lot of people saying yes, which is sometimes a big drawback if you're trying to get feedback on it, because I think yes is the most important word for a lot of these people. It's like, hey, do you like this? Yes, of course I do.
Whatever you say.
Whatever you say, right? So with that extra step of, we just walk through this for an hour and a half, and without drastically shifting focus or movements, or you should have done this even though you didn't have the capacity to, we fixed all that in an hour and a half of talking about it. So you lose one more quarter for that, so I'm 0.75. 0.75. Not to copy you, I just got there a different way.
I get it.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We've got a few on that. I mean, we need to do legends. God bless. There's so many things. I was told we forgot Down Under. We forgot that. And then we are trying to track down actually Michelle Latondra and talk about her 2 weeks of programming. So we're going to see if we can get her on the show, talk about her programming. Obviously, it's been a hot topic for one of those workouts, which
we want to talk to her about that too.
We want to talk to her about it, right? Hey, fill us in. What's the deal? Let us know. All right. If that's the path you're going, so be it. To each their own. To each their own. But all right, that'll do it for us here. Happy Thursday. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.